Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dr. Brent and Coco, Season 4. Right now, we are working through our RSV mini-series together. This is our third installment. We already went over a general introduction about RSV and the illness it causes called bronchiolitis. If you missed those, just scroll to my posts from previous days and take a look. Today, we are talking about how RSV is spread and some of the specific timelines involved. If you recall, I talked yesterday about how there are many viruses that cause bronchiolitis. Keeping that in mind, know that each virus will behave in a slightly different way in the human body, and each human body will respond to infection in its own unique way as well. Today, I'm sharing information specific to RSV since that's what we are currently seeing the most of. While you can expect other viruses that cause bronchiolitis to behave in similar ways, just know that there are many nuances that differ from virus to virus and from human to human. With that out of the way, let's get after it. So now you all know that this is a respiratory virus, right? So it's safe to assume we spread it with our respiratory systems. Breaking it down, there are two main routes for RSV to spread. The first is respiratory droplets, which are shared directly by coughing, sneezing, and things like that. RSV tends to live in the largest droplets. The good news there is that these fall to the ground or other surfaces before they can get very far away from the infected person. Estimates from studies show that it's about 3 to 6 feet at the most. Side note, masks prevent this altogether as large droplets don't get through. That brings us to the second method, fomites. Fomites are simply defined as objects that may be contaminated with an infection. Okay, so if you'll indulge me for a moment, why do so many words exist that sound fancy but really just describe something simple or something clearly not fancy? Oh, be careful of those fomites over there, lovey. Is all this fancification foolery really necessary? Anyway, I digress. So fomites. When those respiratory droplets land on a surface, or when we touch our face, cough into our hands, or blow our noses, then that surface is contaminated with potentially infectious particles. On your hands and face, those particles retain their ability to infect for an hour or less. On clothes, tissues, or other softer, more porous surfaces, fomites also last for give or take an hour. However, on other non-porous surfaces like glass or countertops, crib rails, mobile devices, doorknobs, toilet handles, or other similar surfaces, those particles remain potentially infectious for 3 to up to 30 hours. So when there's someone sick with a respiratory illness in the same house as you, think of all the things that that person could potentially contaminate and how often you touch those same surfaces, sometimes without even realizing. That means one person could infect a whole household or more. We'll talk more about how infectious RSV is compared to other similar viruses in a future video. The sciencey boring one. Anyway, let's say that you're having a great time at Thanksgiving. You just finished feasting with family, and now everyone is lounging and laughing and enjoying the company of folks that you only get to see a few times a year, if that. What you don't realize is that the baby in your host's home is just getting over RSV. After the meal, it's nap time for the littles, and you take your 18-month-old to a bedroom to put him down. He goes down easily, but when he wakes, he plays with toys in the room, uses the doorknob to exit, and comes to find you. Many of those surfaces could easily be contaminated. You could be driving home with more than just a turkey hangover. You may be bringing RSV and a sick child back with you. What are you in store for? Well, the incubation period for RSV is thought to be in the range of 2 to 8 days, with an average of 3 to 4 days. During this time, the virus is inside the cells of the upper respiratory tract, dividing and infecting more cells. These cells then burst and spread the virus. After the incubation period, he will start to show his first symptoms, but he was actually contagious 1 to 2 days prior to his first onset of symptoms. So if he's already gone back to daycare or school or anywhere else, he may have already spread infection to others. Now, as the illness progresses, we have historically noticed that things tend to peak at about the third night after symptoms begin. This is extremely variable, however, and individual results may differ. However, if you notice a general improvement after the third night, you may actually be in the clear. If not, your child may be one of the kids who needs help and support to get better. That's okay. We're here to help. The total duration of symptoms really depends on each child, but many parents notice continued symptoms for weeks. Most patients are contagious from 1 to 2 days prior to the first symptoms until about 3 to 8 days after the first set of symptoms. As far as being contagious and when to return to activities, the reality is that kids with cough, congestion, and runny nose might still be contagious no matter what is causing the infection. However, if we kept every kid home who had a runny nose, daycares and schools would be totally empty for the entirety of the winter. In general, for those of you with sick littles, if a child's symptoms are improving, they are fever-free, and they're able to handle feeds and activity through a normal day, they can probably return to daycare or school. All right, I think that's all I wanted to cover for today, but stay tuned as there is so much more to talk about. Until then, watch out for fomites on the road as you travel this Thanksgiving, you animals, and I will see you next time.